Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. This is my buddy William, working from home. Not sure where they're from. I should probably find that out. But working on the 21-day challenge. And I'm going to show you some before swings of William, and probably something you at home are working out with your own young players, and how we can help alleviate the problems in the challenge. This is a challenge there's nothing like this being done online right now, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not that people can't do distance learning, you send videos and you just, but number one, I'm only taking 25 players in the next challenge. It starts January the 2nd, so please reserve your spot as soon as possible. But the other reason why is because a lot of people are basing their teaching on what they're seeing, right? You'll see it in their analysis that there's a pro and they're talking about this and that. And my focus that I think that I bring to the table, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I will tell you that I've spent most of my time as a teacher obsessing about what kids do wrong at the plate. When you have a basis of understanding that, you're getting a lot closer to a pro swing. But if you're just saying, oh, I've got to get my player to do like the pros, a lot of the ways that people are analyzing what the pros do, and they're doing it by what they see and not necessarily what these players are feeling, right? So a big thing is, look how this guy's spinning. I look at his body turn and all these things. You start focusing on that with your young players, and you're going to have a lot of problems, right? Young players have no problem with spinning or turning. Right? And if you hear a lot of your guy talking a lot about rotating, and I'm coming from, and I hope that people understand this. I'm a master instructor for Epstein hitting. There's 7 of us out of 500 plus certified instructors. So the guys that created rotational hitting, I'm in that group. I'm part of that organization. But a lot of times, the way that people are talking about it, it's a complete misunderstanding. And so you have all these guys saying, well, look at him spinning now. And so, yeah, so I'm part of the original pioneers that came up with the language. So it's not that I don't understand rotational hitting. Please stop that. You must be a linear instructor. What the heck does that even mean? Anyways, this is again William and his before swing, and this is what every player does in the beginning of the challenge. Is they send a before swing, and we say, here's what you need to work on. This is what we're going to do, and we get to work, right? And they receive a drill plan, and we work on specific movements to take care of the problems that most young players have. And I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to go to this here so we can look really closely at what a lot of young players struggle with. All right, we'll try to get in as close as we can. Yeah, it's good enough. All right, I'm going to show you a position that you're probably going to find with your young player. And look, there's a lot of guys out there that watch this that the young players don't have this problem. They're working really hard at the swing, but most of you are dealing with something like this. And it's not so much the elbow drag. A lot of times you go all over the internet right now and they go, stop elbow dragging. When the elbow comes underneath, that's elbow drag. I'm going to tell you why young players elbow drag. Some of them worse than others, right? And I'm going to show you exactly why today they do this. This is really important to understand. Then you're really close, right, to understanding why your kid does it. That's right there. That's bigger than a drill, right? It's bigger than a drill. When you understand why your kid does it, then you can start making some progress, right? So this position right here, we're going to go from the elbow to the hands, right? We'll just say we're going to elbow to the hands there. Kids are looking for this position when they're unloading the bat for, I think it's very obvious, but yet some people it just seems to be a struggle. That right here, they're looking for a leverage point. Their arms in that position will leverage the bat against their backside here. And they're going to grab all of these muscles back here. Nothing up here, just right here. They're not going to use this front arm either. They're just using this position right here with my elbows getting closer together. I can pin the bat really strongly in this position to help flip the bat around the ball, right? This is what young players do. Young players want to use that, and it started very young. When they were very young, they had this long foreign object in their hand, and they got to figure out a way to swing it and what looked like around the ball. When dad or coach were demonstrating, what do they see? They see a bat going around the plate, right? And so young players take that to the next level and they get a little bit more efficient with it, and they still want to find that spot right there to help flip the bat. So what ends up happening, right, and some worse than others, but what ends up happening with these players is they tend to use that leverage position. And I want you to watch. This is the biggest problem with this for me and my money, anyways, is the top hand arm ends up just being in a position where it's going to flip the bat. This is a rotating top hand arm. Now, some players are much worse off than this young man was when he came in the door, but he uses his top hand arm as just rotating around the ball, and so you end up with a barrel that flips, right? And so these guys and these dads and moms are chasing extension because they see, oh, he doesn't have a power V, right? And so they start doing power V exercises and so forth. No, it's because a player creates a lot of resistance behind them, right? Particularly in the unload of the swing. They get stuck here and they have to use that stuck feeling to help flip the bat. That's elbow drag. That's why young players elbow drag. You don't have to scratch your head about it anymore, right? Young players are trying to find a feeling back here to flip the bat as hard as they can through the zone. Now, what you'll see, variances of this are those arm bar, right? An arm bar is a much stronger position for elbow draggers, right? And I'm going to show you why. They get more extension here, right, which allows the elbow to come underneath tighter, right? And so they get, the longer they make that, the harder they can flip the bat around the zone, right? And so you'll see players that'll have a lot of pop, especially in coach pitch and in that environment, right? And they can hit a ball really hard and really far, and you'll see it up through 10U, 11U, 12U even, right? But when the pitching gets better, right, the reason why we don't see this move in the higher levels is because these players they're stuck. They can't make adjustments in the zone because they always depend on a stuck feeling here. Resistance, flip, right? So this player will be eaten alive if they don't learn how to free things up. So my job as an instructor, right? My job as an instructor is to make sure that I'm clearing up resistance for young players. The big thing these days is creating more resistance, more resistance, more resistance. No, with young players, you have to first let them understand how to create less resistance, and then the bigger movements, I guess, that people are challenging players with that they would call advanced moves. I still scratch my head at most of it that's out there. Is that then those moves maybe make sense as a player becomes more proficient in understanding simply how the bat unloads, right? I want a player to get through the zone big, right? I don't want a player that is just focusing on stretching their body and splitting the upper half and lower half, right? Because these players, especially this player on the left, if I start talking to him about more torque and all these things, he's going to continue with the same patterns. It's pulling the elbow underneath and then rotating my top hand arm at the ball, right? I want this player to learn how to get to the inside with less resistance so I can stay through the zone bigger, right? Also in the 21-day challenge, we're focusing on the ground to some extent. There's only so much time in 21 days, right? And so, but the leg drills focus on something very specific, right? I'm trying to challenge players with a different feeling on how they use the ground. The better you use the ground, the more efficient your lower half is going to move and so forth. What a lot of people are focusing on these days is this, and the back foot's got to do something, right? Because we're in the complete opposite spectrum of squish the bug, right? Squish the bug is a back heel moving backwards. So an anti-squish the bug movement would be drag your back foot. Well, I'm telling you that most players are getting into a lot of trouble with that move, and I'll show you why here in just a second, but quite simply, we focus on making sure that the back heel doesn't go backwards. That's first and foremost, and I'll explain the foot moving forward here in a minute, right? But probably the biggest portion that kids lack is understanding the emphasis on the front side, how to feel how we're using the ground, right? So we go toe, heel, right? And I want you to watch what William does here with his front toes. Do you see how they come off the ground there? Now, you'll see this with some players more exaggerated, right? Altuve, definitely you'll see his toes come off the ground big time like this. And Lindor, who I'm going to show you here in just a second, doesn't do it as pronounced. But the reason why we exaggerate it a little bit is that what I'm wanting a player to feel is the right kind of ground force reaction. If I'm not using my front heel as a leverage point, I'm not going to be able to stay back well, and I'm certainly not going to be able to straighten my front leg out with efficiency. Now, I've seen a lot of players that can straighten their front leg out, right? But they'll do it on the ball of their foot. They've been told so many times to straighten their front leg out. They may be straightening their leg out, but they're not feeling the right leverage points, right? And so that's one of the things that we focus on with the leg work, is just trying to challenge your player to feel the correct things. Now, the majority of the work that we do is because young players don't understand how to unload and use the upper half. We do a lot of upper half isolation drills, teaching the player how to use the bottom hand more efficiently, which is the front arm, right? We teach the player a different feeling in their top hand arm and how to unload, and it is a completely different feeling than what they had before. And so what ends up happening in the 21-day challenge, it's not just a mechanical change that you'll see, but in their mind, you have to change what it means to swing the bat. If they're a player that, and most young players, if they think that this feels stronger, then you're going to have to change that feeling, and their mind is certainly has to change, right? And so we'll go back to Francisco Lindor. Now, I've obviously flipped him around for this. This was a 450-foot home run from a 5'11", 190-pound guy, right? So I think that most would agree, not everybody will, but what most will agree is that as far as fundamentally how they're using the functioning movements of the swing are very similar. How we're getting to the inside, how we're staying through the zone big, right, are very similar. Now I'm going to point out some of the differences because it's important to understand why Francisco Lindor's back foot moves, right? And that's very critical. And I'm going to move back right here. Now, this is something that I think is obvious, but a lot of people don't consider this when they're doing their tee work. So I want you to notice where my buddy William, his eyes are right here focused on the ball as he's hitting balls on the tee, right? Probably a better practice would start your head and eyes out front. But nonetheless, most players, when they're hitting a ball on a tee, when they start to attack the ball, their head and eyes are here, right? And so the whole full body movement, the difference you'll see in the back leg here, some of it is because his focus is 60 foot 6 inches out front, right? He's tracking a ball that's coming in out front, that's moving, and he's going to have to hit a ball that's moving out front. He's probably going to have to think about hitting it out front, right? And so a lot of this movement, if you saw Lindor doing tee work, I almost assure you, you would not see that his back foot moves. Now, I'm not saying that if you're doing tee work and your back foot moves that it's wrong. I'm just saying making it a prerequisite. Oh, your back foot didn't do anything. You must be squishing the bug. These are the players that are getting themselves in more and more trouble. I see it all the time. Drill swings where a player's back leg is, going a foot in distance from here to here, and then somebody's saying, oh, that's a good back leg movement. He's not squishing the bug. Well, my friend young William here is not squishing the bug either. He's learning how to use the ground more efficiently. When his focus, and you can see it here as they're going into their weight shift, his focus is here. Look where his chin position is over here on the left, right? That's because his eyes are here. His chin position is a little bit inside of that, and so all of his focus is here at a stopping point. Now, we don't want to think about that when we're hitting, but let's face it, that ball's sitting still, so he shouldn't be thinking about dragging his back leg past the ball or through the ball, right? He's learning how to function or use the ground more efficiently, right? And so you can see that that same action in the lower half is present, right? Lindor's toes don't come off the ground as much, and yet that's the move, the feeling though that he has is the same as what William has in the front side, right? Now, as far as barrel position, now we work a lot in drills that you'll see some position very similar to this. The difference in the upper half, quite simply in the elbow positioning and so forth, is the how Williams' top hand is positioned, right? Francisco Lindor has his more vertical, right? He's not flattening his top hand out as much, and that's perhaps could be considered a feeling thing. Could William do that? Yeah, probably, but he's staying pretty close to what we've been working on, right? And so the attack to the inside and the unload, though, of the rest of the components of the swing are going to be exactly the same. This is how big leaguers learn to work to the inside. Now, I would stop short of saying all big leaguers do it the same. Stop buying into that. It's not true. A lot of them feel something a little bit different. So focus on what your player is feeling, right? The baseball swing should be about feeling when a player is learning, not seeing, right? I think that if you have a visual learner, Seeing what the pros do is very important, but they better feel what the pros do, or you'll have, oh, I see that this player is spinning around more, he's rotating more. And then you start talking to your player about the seeing thing. I see a player spinning around. No, that's when you're going to get your player in a lot of trouble, because the body's rotation is fundamentally a part of how the movements are working and how we're unloading the bat, right? How we use the ground will make me some players more rotational than the next guy, right? But telling players, well, look how your body's not spinning like Francisco Lindor, that's going to get them in more and more trouble. Okay, and so 21-day challenge is all about that, folks. We're trying to give your player a better idea and understanding of how to unload the bat, how all the pieces in the swing work, how all the feelings in the swing work, right? And that's when your player is going to feel a difference. Now, the 21-day challenge is this. I'm taking 25 players for the next session is going to be starting the 2nd of January of 2018. All right, so if you have interest in it, you can send me an email. I will just tell you this right up front so you can save yourself a lot of problems. If you don't like to pay for these things, it's not going to be for you. It's $99. 30 days of support. How many of you guys do lessons, right? You pay guys $75 to $100 an hour. It's $99 for 30 days of support. I'm going to give your player up to 8 analysis, his beginning analysis or her beginning analysis, right? Her before swing. And then the beauty of this and the feedback I'm getting from the players that are in the pilot right now, and William's one of them, is the parents are telling me, oh man, the feedback you're giving us on the drill swings, that's where the difference is coming, because I'm able to walk players through and go, okay, next time you're doing this drill, hey, watch out for this. You're doing this, I need to see more of this. Or the A drill had this feeling. When you're doing the C drill, I need you to feel a little bit more of the A drill, right? So this is where the difference comes in. Not just throwing a bunch of drills, throwing you into a giant drill catalog and saying, good luck. No, you guys have jobs to do. This isn't my job is to obsess about what your player's doing wrong and then relay the information. Your job is to just relay the information to your player, right? And go from there. That's where the beauty of this plan comes, right? And we're going to make sure at the end of your challenge, and I have I have every interest involved in making sure your player gets better. So you'll go and you'll tell that player, hey, you need to work on this. This is why my player is doing so well now. I want to make sure at the end of the challenge, right? I'm not going to throw you to other guys I've got 30,000 unlimited videos you can send in, and then but I'm going to give you to coach so and so over here, and I'm going to give you to this coach over here now because I don't have time. No, that's why I'm taking 25 players, so I can dedicate the time that your player needs in order to get better. Hey, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. Thanks.